about literacy in common, we can say that it is the ability, confidence, and willingness to engage with language, to inquire, construct, and communicate meaning in all aspects of daily living. Language is explained as a social and cultural constructed system of communication. As for reading literacy, it is defined in PISA as the ability to understand, use, and reflect on written text in order to achieve one's goals, to develop one's knowledge and potential, and to participate effectively in society. What is guided reading? Guided reading is an instructional practice or approach where teachers support a small group of students to read a text independently. Why is guided reading? The practice of guided reading is based on the belief that the optimal learning for a reader occurs when they are assisted by an educator or expert author to read and understand a text with a clear but limited guidance. Guided reading allows students to practice and consolidate effective reading strategies. So, let's watch a short video about advantages of guided reading.
A reading program, and part of that is guided reading, is very important for learners to develop these skills to read independently.
It creates wonderful opportunities for teachers and children to enjoy books and share wonderful texts, but it also allows and gives the opportunity for children to broaden their vocabulary.
So when you look at the balanced literacy program, in which guided reading fits, you're really trying to develop, first of all, that love for reading. Reading is not an easy skill to develop, and your brain inherently is quite lazy. So you need to sort of make that reading something learners want to do, to motivate them, to instill a love for reading at a very young age. So that would be your first stage, like a reading to stage in the classroom and at home, hopefully as well. Then we move on to that shared reading, where students starting to read more with the teacher. You're interacting with the text through questions. We're modeling effective reading, the skills, the strategies, but also the expression you use when you read aloud. So here, students are really involved in this reading process, and hopefully we keep maintaining that positive attitude towards reading. Then we move on to guided reading. In a nutshell, guided reading is actually there to bridge the gap between that reading that the teacher is doing towards becoming independent readers, where students can really apply the reading strategies and skills independently on any resource that they read.
Guided reading offers an opportunity for those children to explore language and use language, particularly our second language learners. And this teaching of vocabulary in a familiar context has broken down so many barriers for this group of children. So they are now able to access text at their level at a more deeper and in a more meaningful way.
So guided reading is a very important bridge to help them become independent, effective readers.
The key elements of guided reading include: before reading discussion, this is when the teacher introduces the text and takes the opportunity to teach students before the reading begins. The activity you can try is word search. Choose a few words from the text that may be difficult for students, or words that tell what the story is about. Then have students sort the words into categories. Independent reading. During this time when students are reading, the teacher provides any assistance that is needed, as well as records any observations. One of the activity is sticky notes. During reading, students write down anything that they want on the sticky notes. It can be something that interests them, a word that confuses them, or a question or command they may have, anything at all. Then share them as a group after reading the story. And after reading discussion. After reading, the teacher talks with students about what they have just read and the strategies that they used, and lead students through a discussion about the book. Activity to try is draw a story map. After reading, have students draw a story map of what the story was about. A great source of materials for pre-reading and comprehension activities is the online media platform. Comprehension should be a quick check for understanding of what they have currently read. Here you can find lessons for different grades. Choose a grade, a term, and a lesson, and you are ready to teach your students. First, they can study the vocabulary, they are given definitions, and they can see how to use these words in the context. Here you can find different tasks of different levels. In this example, students work with the new vocabulary and check the text comprehension. Here you can start doing the task and see your mistakes, or check individually or in group. If you have any mistakes, you can see what are they. Here you have the task with the task comprehension of the text. Here you are given the text about Oscar Wilde. You can read and then choose the correct option. The task of different level, so the students can start with the easy task and finish with the most difficult one. They are various, so students won't be bored with doing such tasks. After finishing all the tasks, you and your students can check the results and discuss them. Here you can see your results. Then you can organize after reading discussion with your students. Materials on the platform can be used for work in the classroom or at home. Guided reading helps students develop greater control over the reading process through the development of reading strategies which assist decoding and construct meaning. The teacher guides or scaffolds their students as they read, talk, and think their way through a text. That's why scaffolding should be included in guided reading. It's a method which involves breaking learning into chunks to make the materials or skills easier for students to master. Scaffolding consists of front-loading new or technical vocabulary, highlighting the language structures or feature of a text, focusing on a decoding strategy that will be useful when reading, teaching fluency and or promoting the different level of comprehension, literal, inferential, or evaluative. Guided reading strategies are prediction, clarification and questioning, and summarizing. Prediction encourages students to draw on their own prior learning and experiences to allow them to make educated guesses on what may follow in the story. Prediction activities are great activities to hone your students' predictive abilities and comprehension skills, and then can be repeated often. They also have the added advantage of requiring very little preparation for the teacher. Prior to begin to read the chosen book, some pre-reading work is necessary to focus the students' minds on the task at hand. Here is an example of how to organize before reading discussion.
So we're learning to understand and how authors use point of view to reveal what the characters think, see, feel, say, and do. What is point of view? We've been talking a lot about that.
We understand what the character's thinking, because if they didn't include that, they may be thinking the character's happy when it's actually sad.
Yeah, and it helps us understand an event better. So we're going to look at a little chart that we've made based on what the girl with the magic finger felt, her point of view in regards to the Greeks going hunting. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Yeah. Now, let's have a look. What did she see?
She saw the Greeks shooting animals.
Yep, she saw the Greeks shooting animals. And how did she feel about that?
I got a little angry because why would the boy be killing animals for no point?
What did she do?
She put the magic finger on them.
Why did she put the magic finger on them, you think?
Because she thought they need to learn a lesson how animals feel.
Yep. What was she thinking? Nevaeh?
She was thinking that she needs to stop them.
And what did she tell them to do?
She told them to stop, but Mr. Greg said, mind your own P's and Q's.
And that got her really upset, and that's why. What did she do in the end?
She put the magic finger on them,
That's
on
right.
the whole great family.
Yeah, she put the magic finger on the whole great family.
For months I've been telling myself that I would never put the magic finger upon anyone again. Not after what happened to my teacher, old Mrs. Winter. Poor old Mrs. Winter. One day we were in class and she was teaching us spelling. Stand up, she said to me, and spell cat.
Do you know what I really like that you've done? Remember how you kind of stumbled on the words? I liked how you went back, you backed up, and you reread the text again. That's really good. Let's keep going.
That's an easy one, I said. K-A-T. You are a stupid little girl, Miss Winter said.
Now, what's that one?
Mrs. Winter said.
Yeah.
I am not a stupid little girl, I cried. I'm a very nice little girl. So, go and stand in the corner, Miss Winter said. Then I got cross and I saw red. And I put the magic finger on Mrs. Winter, good and strong, and almost at once, guess what?
Okay. What do you think that means? Then I got cross and I saw red. What does that mean?
That means she got cross and then like her cheeks went red.
Yeah, but what does cross mean? How do you think she's
She got
feeling?
angry.
How do you know she's got angry? How do you know
Because
she
it
got
says
angry?
cross, and cross normally means angry or upset.
What to it?
We might start from here. Then I got cross.
Then I got cross and I saw red. And I put the magic finger on Mrs. Winter, good and strong. And almost at once, guess what? Whiskers began growing out of her face.
All right. Now, why do you think this word is in italics?
What is that?
Italics is when, the words are a little slanted. Why do you think this word is in italics?
Maybe because the whiskers are thin, or maybe they've done a thin too, or maybe like when you write some words, you write it wobbly and stuff like.
Why do we do that? Why does the author do that, you think?
So the book can be more entertaining.
Do you think the author wants the reader to shock the reader, or to focus on that particular word? I mean, guess what? Whiskers began growing out of her face, and because it's in italics, we have to sort of focus on that word and read it a bit differently. Because we're shocked. Whiskers began growing out of her face. Do we want to try that again?
Okay.
Yeah.
Whiskers began growing out her face. They were long black whiskers, just like one you see on a
We have to go back and reread, all right? So in today's guided reading session, the focus for that group was looking at point of view.
Clarification and questioning. In terms of guided reading, clarification refers to first identifying the difficult parts of the text before making sense of them through a variety of clarification techniques. These techniques can be as simple as looking up a word in a dictionary. There are other tools available to students, however. Often when students look up the meaning of a word in a dictionary, it helps clarify the meaning of the part of the text in the short term. But sometimes the word's definition is not retained for the next time the students comes across it. Sometimes it's better for the students to use other techniques to work out the meaning, such as employing contextual clues. To support students while discussion, some clarification and question prompts can be used as scaffolding to help students to identify the areas of the text they are unsure of before moving to the question prompts to help them begin to work out the meaning and significance with the text. When students have identified the vocabulary, phrases, sentences, paragraphs, and sections they are giving them trouble, they can then move on to the forming question using the following question prompts. Summarizing reading. Summarizing is an important skill for students to develop. It helps students to identify the most important part of a text or story and to learn to ignore irrelevant details and information too. Students who practice summarizing learn to integrate the details and the main ideas of a text in a meaningful way. A simple way to encourage students to summarize a story is to ask them to paraphrase it in their own words. As it will be highly unlikely they will have memorized the entire story word for word, paraphrasing the story will allow you to assess their overall understanding of what they have read. To encourage your students to summarize a text, ask them to answer the following 4 things. What are the main ideas in the piece? What are the most important details or points made? What details or information is irrelevant or unnecessary? What are the keywords and phrases in the text? If they have photocopies of the story, you may wish to have them underline or highlight the information related to the above questions in different colors and then ask them to retell the story in their own words after they have done this. Encourage them to use the keywords and phrases used in the text in their retelling too. Here is an example of the lesson from the international context of how a teacher summarizes a story.
So today we're going to read a story, a special type of story that's called a fable. And a fable has a special message at the end. Okay, but today we're going to focus more on the character feelings like we did with our whole class focus. All right, we're going to be looking at the 2 characters in the story, the lion and the mouse, and how they might be feeling throughout the story. Because I think their feelings change a little bit. Risma, what can you tell from the front of how they're looking at the moment? What do you think? What can you tell me?
Happy.
Okay, who looks like they're happy?
The lion.
Okay, what makes you think he's happy?
The lion.
He's got a bit of a smiley face. What about the mouse, Nora? How do you think the mouse might be feeling?
Worried.
Ah, he might be worried. What's giving you a clue that he might be worried?
Was at the end of the story, maybe the lion will eat the mouse.
All right, we're going to have a couple of words in our story that we might have to have a look at. Now, does anyone know what these ones are? They're verbs.
Laughed. I thought it was laughed.
How did you know that word was laughed?
Because I have that in my reader. That's one of my words in my home reader.
Good job. So you've already seen this word in lots of other books. Okay, good. So I wonder who's laughing in this book. I wonder if the mouse is going to laugh or the lion is going to laugh. Let's have a see. This is another verb. It's a sound that the lion makes. What is it, Nora? Roared. And we've got our ending here, a little bit like laughed. Because it's already happened. This story is in like the past tense. Okay, the story's already happened, so we've got some past tense verbs there. Let's say them together. Roared, laughed. Okay, you're going to see those words today in our story. Now, as you're reading, I want you to think of 2 things. The first thing is, how is the character feeling throughout the story? The lion and the mouse. And then another thing is, what message might this story be telling us? Because it's a fable, it's going to give us a little message as well. Good girl.
The lion woke up. The lion woke up. Got you, he said. Said the mouse. Please let me go. Please let me go. One day I may help you.
Let's look at this picture here. How do you think the mouse is feeling here? How do you think he might be feeling?
Worried?
Is there any clues that you can see that might help you think that he's worried? Maybe something that he's saying or something that he's doing? What makes you think that he's worried?
Because he doesn't eat.
Yeah. Okay, let's say this together because there's an exclamation mark. Ee, said the mouse. Is there anything else that he says to let us know that he's worried? What else does he say?
Please let me go.
What's this at the end?
Exclamation.
Okay, so how's he going to say that? If he's worried, how might he say that?
Please let me go.
Keep going.
Please let me go. One day I may help you.
Does that sound better? Yeah. How else might he be feeling? He might be feeling worried. He might be feeling... What else might he be feeling by saying, please let me go? How else might he be feeling? How would you feel if you were the mouse and you've got a lion about to grab you?
Upset.
You feel upset as well. Keep going, Nora.
Yes, a mouse can help a lion take you, little mouse.
Let's look at this page, Rizwan, because there's some little marks on that page that will help you read a little bit fluently with expression. What marks might help you?
Exclamation marks and talking marks.
And is there something else on the page that might help you? Something that's a little bit, look at these ones, dark.
Oh, dog, look.
Right. Because when you were reading, I noticed you read all the same. Because when we see the talking marks and the bold words, what do we need to do?
I'm making it a little bit louder.
So let's read this together. You're going to help me. We're going to do it together. When we get to the talking marks, I want you to change your voice. Because who's talking on this page?
The lion,
And also?
the mouse,
Right. Okay, so there's talking, so we have to make sure we change our voice. Off we go. And she did. You can get out now, said the mouse. Can you read that again for me like that?
You can get out now, said the mouse.
That sounds better, doesn't it? What about here?
See, a little mouse likes me, did help a...
To get guided reading started in the classroom requires lots of planning and organization at the beginning of the year, but this initial investment of time and effort reaps richer words for students that is reflected in their rapid progress. Reading is important because it develops the mind. The mind is a muscle. It needs exercise. Understanding the written word is one way the mind grows in its ability. Teaching young children to read helps them develop their language skills. It also helps them learn to listen. Non-readers or poor readers often have low opinion of themselves and their abilities. Reading is important because words spoken and written are the building blocks of life. Here are the resources that were used in the presentation. You can use them to find more information about the guided reading approach. Thank you for your attention.
Dear colleagues, thank you for your attention. Our question was, which idiom stands for doing everything in order to achieve or succeed in something? Now, let's find the answer. The answer is at all costs or do your best. Now it's time to find the winner. And our winner is Zarina Musabalinova. Congratulations!
Ms. Guljan, thank you for your information and for your quiz.
Thank you very much.
Dear colleagues, we have prepared for you some useful resources that might be helpful in implementing the educational program. You may find them by following the links given in the description of the broadcast. Let me remind you that the current broadcast is being recorded and will be available to watch on our YouTube channel. Do not forget to subscribe to our channel and have access to all the updates. And we move on to the next section, which is about assessment. Assessment is an important component of the educational process. It allows to track the dynamics of each student and identify the potential for their growth. I have with me in the studio an expert in criteria-based assessment, Ms. Saule Soltangazina. Welcome.
Hello, thank you. Hello, dear colleagues. Today we would like to discuss the format. Today we would like to discuss the format and content of student continuous and final assessment. As you know, continuous assessment consists of formative and summative assessment. Formative assessment is considered as the process in which student learning is monitored in order to improve students' knowledge and skills, and summative as an outcome of learning on completion of a unit and the term. At the same time, it is important to understand the consistency of the assessment tools. Let's look at the examples of formative, summative, and final assessment tasks. These tasks are designed to achieve the following learning goal: deduce meaning from context in extended text on a range of familiar general and curricular topics. For formative assessment, we can develop a matching task where students are expected to find the meaning of certain words highlighted in the text. The descriptor can be used to give students constructive feedback. In this way, we can prepare students for summative assessment. In summative assessment for a unit, we can offer a reading task on finding the synonyms for the words given. Here we have descriptors and marks for each correct answer. In summative assessment for a term, we can ask students to find a suitable word that can replace the underlined word in the text without changing its meaning. There is a marking scheme to assess students' answers. The test specification of the final attestation reflects the same learning objective and tasks used above. The task is graded using a marking scheme. Ensuring consistency in assessment tools allows students to achieve good results in the final assessment. The analysis of student performance results give teachers an opportunity to use it for their lesson planning and teaching practice. It is also possible to define the most challenging learning objectives for students. Teachers can reflect on the learning process and work on narrowing the achievement gap. The ongoing analysis of the student's result in the electronic journal improves the quality of teaching. If we look at these examples, we can see that the teacher evaluates them with different frequency. Let's draw a learning trajectory for the students based on the results given. For the formative assessment task, we can see that the first student achieved mostly 9 or 10 points, and his learning trajectory looks like this. The second student achieved basically 7 points, and his learning trajectory looks like this. The third student was assessed only a few times per term, and his learning trajectory looks like this. As we can see, students demonstrated different levels of learning. We can track them which of the students needs support the most, so that teachers can plan individual work to overcome difficulties during the learning process. Now, let's look at some examples of formative assessment tasks and typical mistakes that can be made in assessment tools. This lesson covers the following learning objectives: develop with support coherent arguments, supported when necessary by examples and reasons for a range of written genres in familiar general and curricular topics. Write coherently at text level using a variety of connectors on a range of familiar general and curricular topics. And assessment criteria are: to use writing to reflect on the learned material, to demonstrate the ability to write grammatically correct sentences. These criteria do not meet the learning objectives. It is necessary to describe how exactly students should demonstrate the achievement of a given learning objectives. At the same time, the level of thinking skills does not correspond to the assessment criteria, since the task for this learning objective requires higher order thinking skills. Now, let's consider the example of this lesson with some changes. The task and the assessment criteria correspond to the learning objective. The level of thinking skills is application and higher order thinking skills. The descriptors provide step-by-step action for a student. Here are some examples of formative assessment tasks. As you can see, As you can see, a student was given certain points for his work. As you can see, students certain points for his work. This type of assessment does not provide detailed feedback for the student and does not show what needs to be improved. In the second example, teacher gives the marks and brief comments on students' assignment. However, by analyzing the student's work, we can observe that the mistakes are repeated. We can observe that mistakes are repeated in the further task. It might show that the students paid attention only to the points awarded and the feedback was not detailed enough. In the third example, a student was provided only with the feedback. The student worked on his mistakes, and as a result, there is a positive dynamic in his learning. It means that providing students with constructive feedback can help to improve students' academic performance. Here is the schedule of changes in summative assessment specification. Last year, test specification for grade 5 and 7 were updated. For this academic year, schools will use the updated test specification for grade 6 and 8. Please pay attention to these changes. Next, we offer characteristics of the summative assessment tasks from the updated test specifications. We can see that the learning objectives and task types have been changed. It is important to remember that while developing summative assessment tasks, we cannot change learning objectives, total mark, and allocated time, because this information is standardized for all schools of the country. To keep the consistency of all assessment types, the format of student final attestation in grade 9 and 11 has also been updated. In the traditional form of assessment, the final attestation in English in grade 9 used to be an oral examination, while in the updated content of education, students are expected to complete tasks on reading skills, consisting of 3 parts. Grade 11 students take a written examination comprising 2 parts. Part 1 consists of reading assignments. Part 2 includes a writing task. In order to develop high-quality assessment tasks that meet the learning objectives, we offer methodological support on the online portal SMK-edu.kz. Here you can find various tasks on different difficulty levels developed for all 3 types of assessment. However, we kindly advise you to develop assessment tools taking into consideration the level of knowledge and skills of your students. Thanks for your attention. We are more than happy to answer your questions.
Thank you, Ms. Saulia.
Thank you, Ahmara.
And we proceed to the next section. A teacher gains the most valuable experience through practice. Let's watch together masterclasses of our teachers.
Good morning, our dear colleagues. Warm greetings to the participants of our workshop. We, English teachers of Nazarbayev Intellectual School of Chemistry and Biology in Ust-Kamenogorsk, Batagos Kishubaeva, and Marina Yundina, are proud to present our ideas on principles of developing reading skills.
During this interactive workshop, you will answer a series of questions. Altogether, we will share our experience.
We are waiting for your active participation via chat box, and at the end, we would like you to give your feedback.
Let's start. And the first question is: what do students of primary, secondary, and high school usually read? Please remember to type your ideas in the chat box.
Thank you for your answers, and now let's turn to the student's opinion.
Every day, without noticing it, we always read something, and it can be anything. For example, every day we read newspapers or magazines, books, articles and news on the internet. We read the menu when we are going to order something. We read signs, messages from friends, event posters and others.
I read books, magazines, comics and social media posts, SMS, subtitles, journals, diaries and calendar, and also notes.
To my mind, we read magazines, newspapers, also messages from phone, comics, recipes, many ads, and dictionaries, road signs, and of course books every day.
So we can draw the conclusion that reading plays a great role in our life. We read a lot every day, and most of our daily reading consists of social media posts, texts, messages, news, headlines, labels, menus, manuals for different appliances, etc. It means that our learners need to be acquainted with different types of texts and the best strategies for reading them.
Great! Now, I would like you to get the answer to the second question. Can reading signs be named reading? What can a learner understand from this railway station sign? Please do not forget to share your ideas in the chat box.
Thank you for your answers, and now let's turn to the student's opinion.
It's a railway station sign. The sign's color is green, and the sign pictured a railway, a train, a platform, and a person. There are white. This sign is using for the passenger safety.
It is railway station. We can see on this sign person at the platform. Also we see train that arrives at the station. And we can suppose the rule not to stand close to the platform because it is dangerous for our life.
At the picture we can see a railway station sign. A train arrives at the station. Also, we can see a person at the platform. Obviously, he's waiting for this train. There is a rule not to stand close to the edge of the platform because it is dangerous to people.
Yes, reading signs can be named reading.
Can you clarify if there is a connection between PISA and subject program?
Certainly. There is a straight connection. PISA Reading Literacy Framework defines several cognitive processes involved in reading. Locate information. Scanning a single text in order to find the information consisting of a few words, phrases, or numerical values. Look through the learning objective developing reading skills for students of the 8th grade. and pay attention to the highlighted keywords. Understand, comprehending the literal meaning of sentences or short passages, typically matching a direct or close paraphrasing of information in the question with the information in a passage. Look through the learning objective developing reading skills for students of the 9th grade and pay attention to the highlighted keywords. Evaluate. Readers should evaluate whether the information in a text is valid, current, accurate, unbiased, etc. Look through the learning objective developing reading skills for students of the 7th grade and pay attention to the highlighted keywords. Reflect. Readers should identify how the author is presenting the information. Look through the learning objective developing reading skills for students of the 11th grade and pay attention to the highlighted keywords. Dear colleagues, now we want you to take an active part in the following reading activities.
Look at the picture and present your ideas answering the question. What do you notice? Just a reminder for you not to forget to type your ideas in the chat box.
A great job, thank you. Now let's turn to the student's opinion.
At this picture, I have noticed that it is a scarf and it has stripes, and these stripes only have 3 colors. They are light pink, gray and red. Also, we can see that every stripe has a different size.
In this picture, I see a long strip of different colors. In my opinion, it is a scarf because they have the same long length and size too. Also, the colors can be different.
It looks like a very long sock or a scarf with black, white and red stripes.
I have got 2 more questions concerning this picture. What do you wonder? What do you think the stripes and colors may mean? Type your ideas in the chat box, please.
Well done. Let's listen to the students' opinions.
These stripes can mean different kinds, parts, or length and durations of something.
To my mind, each color means something. Red is fire, anger, or maybe health and love. Blue is water and calmness. White is brightness and the sky. Maybe the person who made this wanted to describe these symbols.
Maybe colors can mean positivity of any action, like red is bad, gray is good, and white is neutral. And size of stripes may show us a duration of any action.
According to the original text, gray color means delays under 5 minutes. Pink color means delays up to 30 minutes. Red color means delays of more than half an hour, or both directions. We're working with a non-continuous text. The activity which you have just been busy with is called pre-reading stage. The main purpose of it is to help students integrate new knowledge with their background experience. Let's move to the while reading stage that includes such reading sub-skills as skimming, scanning, and reading for details. Skimming means looking rather quickly through the text and get a general idea.
We want you to look at the picture once more and write in the chat box a catchy headline that captures the main idea of the graph.
Wonderful! Let's compare your ideas with the students' ones. Scanning means finding a specific piece or pieces of information in a text.
Now, you will deal with scanning activity. The task is to fill in the gaps using no more than one word. There are 2 extra words you do not need. Please remember to write your answers in the chat box.
We want you to compare your answers with the keys. Reading for details is suggested to make learners more aware of how language is used. For example, we can ask learners to look for all the words in a text related to a particular topic.
Now, look through the text and choose the proper option. True, false, or not given, paying attention to the keywords. Write your answers in the chat box.
Great! We want you to compare your answers with the keys. Now, let's move to the post-reading stage. Post-reading activities help learners summarize their learning, get a deeper understanding, and organize their thoughts and ideas. Tasks for this stage can be different: summarizing, retailing, drawing, etc.
We suggest you discussing about the rail delay curve. Please suggest your ideas answering the following question. What do you think happened to this curve? Do not forget to type your ideas in the chat box.
Well done. Let's listen to the students' opinions.
I think that this scarf can be sold because of the popularity of this scarf. There are many people in the world who collect such things.
I think that nothing happened to the scarf and it still belongs to Sarah's mother, and it's getting longer and longer every day.
Maybe someday Weber will give this scarf to someone else who can continue this hobby.
As for original text, the knitting commuter sold the scarf on eBay and contributed the €7,550 or $8,650 for her favorite charity.
A great idea to sell this scarf. One question has sprung into my mind. What would you like to do with the scarf? Please share your ideas in the chat box.
Thank you for your job, and now let's listen to the students' opinions.
If I were in the place of a woman, I would like to create something like tradition. And my children will continue to knit this scarf, and when they start getting old, they will pass it on to their children.
I do not know what I will do with this scarf, but maybe I will always smile when I will look at this scarf when my bus is delayed.
I would like to sell this scarf because it has a value for commuters all over the world, and maybe it will be something very important for somebody else.
Reading is very important in our life, and we should remember that our students need to be acquainted with different types of texts.
Developing students' reading skills, remember about 3 stages of reading.
And of course, remember about principles of reading and analyzing non-continuous texts in your lessons.
Please give your feedback about the workshop. Scan the QR code to answer the questions.
If you scan this QR code, you will get useful links for developing reading skills among your students. Our workshop is over.
Thank you for your great ideas.
Be healthy and have productive and successful academic year.
Many thanks to our teachers for inspiring masterclasses. Excellent. We continue our broadcast. Dear colleagues, this year marks another special date. It is the 100th anniversary of Obrai Altınsarin National Academy of Education. Taking this opportunity, we express our sincere congratulations to the National Academy and we wish to its team all the success and prosperity. Today we have in our studio Ms. Diana Zhanabilova, Senior Research Associate of the Content and Methods of Language Teaching Laboratory at the National Academy. Welcome, Ms. Diana.
Thank you.